the meat inspection side, that if anything is not going well on that front, we get a report on it. We get the reports and we react. We do the audits. We go and check what's going on, why those animals are arriving in condition that they shouldn't. So that's part of the communication that we need to do. And nowadays, I hope that obviously stay calm as it is. But I think producers understood what the meaning of that. What is the meaning of welfare? That they need to look at the animal and put themselves as a peg, not me being human managing an animal. So those are the different communication that we need to do.
Hey, welcome everybody to today's episode of the Swine at Canada podcast. I am Dan Columbus and I am your host for today's episode. And with me today, I have Javier Bahamon, who is a quality assurance and production manager at Alberta Pork. So welcome to the show, Javier.
Thank you very much, Dan, and for your group to give me this opportunity to speak in this such a nice way for everyone that listens.
Yeah, no problem at all. So before we get to the topic of today, because some people might not be aware of who you are and kind of your story, I'll just ask you to kind of introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your journey so far.
For sure. Javier Bahamon. I'm the Quality Assurance and Production Manager for Alberta Pork. This is going to be my 10th year here in Alberta Pork. It's hard to believe it, but it's already 10 years passed by. And I am from Colombia, born and raised in Colombia, South America. And back in 2008, we immigrated with my family to Canada. We migrated in Winnipeg and the Brandon area in Manitoba. We worked for an integrator there for a few years before we decided to go to university. We went to University of Manitoba and did an upgrade for credentials here. Actually, I'm a nutritionist back home. So we want to proceed with that kind of training. And there was another opportunity that came up after that, and I joined another integrator as a feed nutritionist. And after I started to climb the ladder in that company until I become the feed, the nutritionist, plus the feed quality and all the other layers of what it requires for those kind of big positions. And by the time, this is a journey that moved from Manitoba to Saskatchewan, and now we ended up in Alberta. I don't know if we can go to BC, maybe or return back to the east part. But yes, I joined Alberta Pork. It was an opportunity, this kind of an opportunity to come and join the group, to work for all pork producers. And it's obviously different from that perspective, for sure. It's different of the work that you do for a big company than what you do for every single one of these producers that join Alberta Pork. So that's just a summary of what my journey has been, and I'm glad to be here. Of course, my 10th year here, so I've been enjoying myself here, and I hope the producers have enjoyed that too with me.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast time flies. If you want to keep working with pigs, you might have to turn around and go the other way. I'm not sure BC has many to really for you to get involved in.
That's exactly right. I probably have to go to Quebec. Actually, my French is not that good, but we can try something.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Well, so like you said, you work for Alberta Pork. So before I think we get into maybe the nitty gritty of some of the programs, maybe just kind of give an overview of what Alberta Pork is and what your mandate is, and like what is it you do?
Oh, and that's actually good way to introduce that part of the big job. So, well, Alberta Pork is one of the pork organizations that is based obviously here in Alberta. It's managed by 8 board members that are elected from the whole group of pork producers. There are around 200 pork producers now in Alberta. With that mandate, they elect 8 of the representatives, which they come to the board, and the board is the one that gives us the direction of what is the best way to get the industry moving, to get all the different programs and projects that we have for pork producers. And since then, I'm part or charge of all the part of swine health. That's one of my mandates, as well as the quality insurance programs and all three other programs that belongs to the quality insurance. And after that, like 3 years ago, I am part of the cost of production and not the economist per se, because I am not an economist trained, but I like those numbers too. So I'm just checking on the feed cost, the total cost of production, work with producers on different layers that we need to. And those are the main kind of project that I am in charge of here in Alberta Pork. So as you can see, each of them will have X amount of different branches and little things and big things that we need to accomplish. But in that mandate, those are the big picture kind of projects and programs that we manage for them.
Yeah, I'm not an economist either, but at least the numbers tell you if you're moving in the right direction, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let's get into the stuff that you do work on specifically. So I know there's a couple of different programs that you're involved in and under your mandate. So I'll let you pick which order you want to talk about them in. So let's get into the program.
Perfect. No, I think it's like a day is sometimes a good day that you can concentrate and you can move on things that you need to specifically show the work that we need to do, and there are others that is just out of the blue, the thing that you have to do. And one of those is swine health. One day we are good, we're perfect, and tomorrow, knock on wood, no, something happens. That's one of my mandates. I work directly with the CBO office, the provincial veterinary officer, and his team on trying to connect the dots of what is the biggest risk we have for the industry, how we can manage that risk, and what is the needs and availability for those different programs that we have put in together. So in part of that, we have been working with them on the first one. It was back in 2013, the PED, the porcine epidemic diarrhea, that started to spread in the States and obviously put a threat to the Canadian industry. And by the time we came up with a plan and on trying to support producers the best we can, understand the pathways of that transmission of that disease, and putting a lot of efforts on the biosecurity, biocontainments for all pork producers. So I was in that part of what we said, the passive part, that we are not active containing a disease, on training producers. So I put a lot of time, boots on the ground, going to small groups, training producers what is the best way, how they can do the best they can on their farm or the operations, and what are those pathways that needs to happen. Obviously, there was a big, huge help with the feed companies, plus all the clinics, the veterinary clinics. So we joined that effort. We visited a lot of farms. We put a lot of workshop with them, trying to get them to the point that this is the best we can do from that. Unfortunately, back in 2019, we were challenged by the disease itself. It started in one operation in the central south part of Alberta, and obviously that brings a lot of pressure, threat, scare, and we need to manage all of those. And after that, it was another 4 cases that we need to do, and you start to think in your head like what is going to be. This is how big it's going to be. But thanks to all I believe the efforts from producers, from vets, and from us, saying this is the big picture, this is what you guys need to do, and the disease was contained by the time. We did have one case back in 2020, but it was contained right away. We learned how to do it better and better. And actually, those lessons learned, we are applying for other diseases that we can contain properly, and that obviously is not going to affect much of the producers. This is a big undertaking. It's not just me again. It's like me, and I coordinate and I work with a lot of people. And I think that's part of my extension work that I do here. So try to get all the knowledge. If you don't have that knowledge, you bring the experts to them. They speak directly to them. If it's a researcher, if it's a vet, or somebody else that have a little bit more knowledge than us on certain subject matters, we will bring those people here, and they will provide that expertise to producers. So that's one of the ones, and now we, again, hopefully never are, but the threat is there. The threat is bigger every time, and I'm talking about the African swine fever. Mm-hmm. That's a big file for me, and to keep it busy all the time. Is plenty of meetings since 2018, but I think we have come out with a big plan, and this is again engaging all the stakeholders. It's not just Alberta Pork, it's the government of Alberta, is all the packers, processors, the plants itself. They need to do a lot of planning. Ourselves trying to get into the point that we are more prepared of what African swine fever can put a threat to our industry, and we all have a number in our head, and that's what we can have, what we need to manage and what can happen. And at the same time, you need to provide all this expertise to the producers, because they are the one confronted every single time with the risk, with the truck, with the feed that can come from a place that can pose that risk. So train them and trying to put them calm, that they can, or they need to manage what they can manage. We cannot manage what is not in our hands, and that's one of the things that we have been provided to them. So I'm glad that we do that work. It is a lot of undertaking, and sometimes you get exhausted to it because you just hear the same. But it's important for them to, it's a repetition. Biosecurity is important. These other things are important to you. Let's get prepared here, let's get prepared there. Are you willing to do certain amount of tasks for yourself when we are in that situation? So all those different parts is good. See the industry working together on that subject matter too is very good. Have a lot of expertise with me when we do exercises, when we exercise communications, because there's a lot of different moving pieces when a situation like this happens, and a lot of people get scared. So trying to put all those dots together, trying to get the best prepared possible, is going to be problems, it's going to be challenged, but at least you have a good team that can work around that part. And I think that's the best way right now that we do from that swine health. At the same time, we are working with a lot of different stakeholders. We are with the Canadian Western Health Intelligence Network. That is a bunch of veterinarians, industry people, and we all go together and trying to get what is next, what is happening in the farms. We call it like the smoke detector of diseases, and trying to get ahead of the disease instead of the disease just gaining more ground when it happens. And this is just the monitoring of all the different things that are happening at a bar level from the health status, which have given us a huge of excellent information that we can provide to the producer, saying this is what's happening in your regions, this is what is happening. So you just have to be careful doing the due diligence, but at the same time you can prepare for whatever is coming. So all those dots and pieces is what we have been working in a lot of efforts from a lot of people. I'm not sure how many people are working on it.
Yeah. So you mentioned with the PED, right? You obviously tried to come up with a plan, and then had like that mini outbreak, and then it seems to get better. And I was going to ask, you mentioned it about lessons learned, right? Like obviously, as soon as something happens, you can see, okay, where are the gaps? What do we need to fix? So what maybe were some of the lessons that you learned from that, and how are you applying it then to, say, future threats like ASF and maybe even threats that aren't known at this point?
I think there's many lessons that we learned, but I think
it's a 25-minute podcast, though.
No, I'm going to concentrate to one that it gives me a lot of good feeling because of the time we were talking about PD and transport. Transport is a big chunk of what it can happen to disease transmission. So, but every time we were working around if we heated the trailers, if it's not, how we bake them, what is the temperatures, and so on and so forth. So when the time comes, we have a technical working group that I remember all of us meeting in Winnipeg in a hotel room, and I never seen the industry react to a research paper that quickly. I never seen that in my life. I know that there is we all together working certain things, and slowly those research papers and start that kind of a knowledge, start to get into that. That day, it was like in less than 5 minutes, we stopped the meeting, and everyone in that meeting start to talk to their operational people, telling this is the temperature that you need to be, this is how the protocol disinfection needs to happen for PED to get deactivated. So for me, that was one of the biggest lessons learned, that we all together, all the species needs to form a huge shield, if you will, to producers. Researchers giving us that information, the extension work that it needs to happen on the producer level. And in between, that is us trying to get all of this good information to them and engaging with the people. I think that was my biggest lesson learned from that. There is, as I said, many others, specifically to producers, to truck washes, to how you manage the different parts of a disease outbreak. But that one, I see how it can work, and I hope that we can apply the same for other kind of subject matters in our industry.
Yeah, great. I mean, we'll talk about communication and stuff a little bit later. So I will still go a little bit maybe into some other programs that you're responsible with, outside of health, because I know you also are dealing with food safety, and you've already mentioned training, but obviously more than just training for animal health would come into that. So maybe talk about those programs as well.
For sure. That's one of our biggest programs here is the quality assurance, the Big Safe, Big Care now that we have implemented. I'm glad that the producers finally understood properly what it meant for them, because we didn't explain correctly. Like, you have to do this because, and no, there is a logic behind it. There's a lot of research behind of that. So that this is a big paper that you just have a chunk of a little guidance in a book, but you need to put all that. We are talking about food safety. We are talking about that risk that we pose to the humans to be eating our products, and it's a very excellent product, but as every single thing have a risk. So how we mitigate all those risks? So we have been working on that part since 1998 until today, and I'm believe that we have a great product because of it. Like, I'm proud to be in that part. Obviously, I have a colleague of mine that she's the one that manages most of parts of that big program. I'm just now overseeing it, but it's absolutely fantastic. Look at how the producers engage and are proud of what they do and how they do it when they understand better what is the meaning of it. So like that connecting the dots between this piece is this. It's not just because somebody is requiring. No, it's because you are putting food in front of a family, and you need to be proud of that. But at the same time, that comes to a lot of the responsibility that we have. So that is a big program that we work with. We work with producers at that ground level. We work with the governments on the different levels of legislation and how we can fulfill all what we need to fulfill in order to be approved. At the same time, we do validations, like it's an audit coming from professionals going to barns, doing an assessment, send it to us, we receive it, and we have that process quality that many people will probably read in annual reports and other report that we put. At the same time, we are required to do internal audits, and that's a requirement that producers nowadays enjoy, that we go to their place, we check that the parts and the programs and the audit that was made in a year ago or 2 years ago from those professionals are being followed strictly. Those are requirements that we need to fulfill. There is no other way around on that. So we do an internal audits every year too. So ourselves, Alberta Pork, are in charge of that part. At the same time, Alberta Pork is in charge of all the training behind that Big Safe, Big Care. So every time that an operation needs to be training technicians, my colleague is the one responsible for that, and we need to hire more people or not hire more people for that. But that's pretty much what we do on that front. And we decided 3 years, almost, this is our 4th year, back in the day, that this needs to be overseen, that if we want to show the world and we are transparent on it, Why not? Why? We are not hiding anything. So a part of all of this that we do as a work process in Alberta Pork, we decided to bring an international firm to do a third-party audit on the farm at the farm level and in our office. So how we are keeping up with all the paperwork for producers, wherever we need to keep up with the different 20 binders that we have. And that's the work that we're trying to show. And I know it's not a lot of, it is a lot of time for a result. And the result is the producers are following, the producers are doing it. And that's what we wanted to show the world, that yes, we are third-party audited. I think we are the only poor board, and I'm proud of it, that we are looking at the future. We want to get better. We want to be the best, and we have the best product. So let's show the world that that's what they are eating, and that every time that they enjoy a pork chop or they enjoy the ribs, that they are safe from that specific point. So that's what we do on the front of quality insurance.
Yeah, definitely. I've been to a number of meetings where that Canada pork label is very widely recognized around the world as a quality, and an indicator of a good product. Okay, I promise we get to communication. So I think it's a good time to start talking about that, especially the programs that you've been talking about, obviously involve multiple stakeholders. So I think you're, good to maybe comment on who the stakeholders are that you generally work with and how important it is that they're all working together.
For sure. No, communication is a big undertake, actually. Like sometimes we believe that we communicate, and how I believe I communicate is different of what probably you then believe it needs to be communicated. But the common ground is that we want to transmit information, or if the information is available, how they can get that information from us. So that's how we try to connect with the different stakeholders. Our biggest stakeholders, obviously, we worked very, very close with the government just because of the swine health quality insurance. There is a lot of connections there. At the same time, we manage all the animal welfare across Alberta. So from that standpoint, we Alberta Pork decided back in the day, we have a commitment, an agreement with Alberta SPCA, Alberta Pork, and the government of Alberta on the meat inspection side, that if anything is not going well on that front, we get a report on it. We get the reports and we react. We do the audits. We go and check what's going on, why those animals are arriving in condition that they shouldn't. So that's part of the communication that we need to do. And nowadays, I hope that obviously stay calm as it is. But I think producers understood what the meaning of that. What is the meaning of welfare? That they need to look at the animal and put themselves as a peg, not me being human managing an animal. So those are the different communication that we need to do. So for that to answer, we work with the government of Alberta in the different branches that there are. So the CBO and the veterinary officer. We work with the meat inspection part of Alberta agriculture. We work with some of the welfare people that are there, and the researchers that sometimes they need certain things from us, like when we are investigating or we are trying to put a paper on different subject matters for food safety or animal care. So that is a big part of our work. We work directly with all the pork producers, so we visit them every time that there is a problem, or just to have a coffee and a good conversation on whatever is going on in the industry. We work with the feed companies, is another one that is big for us. And obviously all the clinics, the veterinarians, the swine veterinarians in Alberta, we have a very good relationship with them. They are our eyes in so many farms there. So we go together, we come together, and most of the time we are thinking of how we engage for the different needs that we are encountering. So today it can be that they need a training on E. coli, tomorrow in Salmonella, but euthanization is another one, so on and so forth. So that's how we try to communicate with all of them. They know that Alberta Pork is open to anybody that wants to come and talk to us on what they think of, and if there is a good idea, and it is a good idea with direction directly for the benefit of the industry and all producers, we will do that part for sure.
Yeah. I mean, with communication, I think maybe we should also mention some of the other direct extension stuff that you guys are involved with meetings. And I know Canadian Hog Journal, which is probably one of the most recognized publications, right? So maybe just comment a little bit on that before we come to the end.
For sure. No, I think there's many things that we can talk about, but in that is the bigger strategy for us to communicate with everyone. It's a big magazine. We have excellent researchers. We have a excellent research coming, so we try to transmit that. I know that not everyone is able to read in the level of the different people that are producing the material. So what we try to do with all of them is just bring it down to what is the meaning of that research? What is for the producer? What would be for a big company? Or if he's a veterinarian, what would be for the veterinarian? Or if he's a vet talking to through that channel of the Canadian Hog Journal, we will try to make it happen on that front too. So the Canadian Hog Journal is that big of a strategy that we use to communicate different part of things. We are working on a weekly report that we put together every week. We try to send it every Tuesday or Wednesday morning, depending of the market situation. But it's going to be like what is coming from the industry, what is the news for what's going on, what is the market trends that we are seeing, how it's going to fit costs, what is cost of production means, how many hogs have been slaughtered, all these economics kind of financial information that the producer required to make better decision every week on whatever they are at in their businesses. That's another way that we try to communicate with them. We have engaged with them very much and trying to speak about this and what information is relevant and what information is not that relevant for them, what information they want it in a weekly basis, what information they want it in a quarterly basis, yearly basis, and so on and so forth. So that's the engagement that we have, and it's been very, very successful. And the other part of communication is just bring all of this together and go into farms. We go every week or every other week. We are in a fun level, trying to communicate with them, bringing that expertise directly to them, that they know face to face who is what they are working on and who they can talk if they have a question, if they are not agreeing with what thing that is going on, but that they can have that feeling, that talk is in their operation. They really appreciate that. They really like when we go, we sit down with them and say, okay, what is what you want today? Is cost of production, is revenue, is welfare, is what it worries you. So we can bring that and try to put the best way possible. So those are I would say the biggest picture for communicating with everyone. So we are in a lot of different places with the team. Obviously, it's not just me, but the team, it will be in different places at the same time. So next week we are going to be in the Pork Congress. So hopefully we can enjoy a lot of people and producers there, and the other industry that are going to be present there too, to have conversations on different stage of the industry.
Yeah, very, very busy people.
Yeah, a little bit. Sometimes yeah. I just get, when I'm putting together the some of those communications or the annual report, when you see how much things you have been accomplished and doing it. So sometimes I said to my team, we need to give us a little bit of a, hey, good job. Yeah. You have been doing a lot of work for them. Yeah. So
definitely. So as we come to the end, I'll just ask, if you wanted to distill everything that we've talked about today into one message for our listeners, what would that be?
I think the key message that I can give to anyone is to engage to your people, engage to your producers. In my case, they are the butter for us. Like, they are the one that the main meal for us. So they need to be good, understand what we are doing, why we are doing it, give direction, and they can engage better with you. They can engage and give you direction. That's what our board of directors do with us. And it's been very successful for what we do and how we do it. That was probably one of my biggest lessons learned here, is how you engage with those producers. You engage with the stakeholders, and sometimes it's hard. Well, COVID happens, so it wasn't just this kind of setting, but we slowly are coming back to have a lunch, go and meet with the people, and that's connection is very important for everyone, and more when you're trying to transmit information that is very relevant for them and that you really want them to understand what you are meaning. In that moment, you have full access to it and full potential for the people when we are one-on-one. When you are in big groups, sometimes it's like, yeah, blah, here, there. It was a good idea, and after you forget. But when you have papers in your hands or a paper in your email that I can send you and I can ask you, did you read it? What do you think about it? What you need from it? Like, and so on and so forth. That's, I think, the biggest probably tip that I can say to people: go engage. And yes, it's hard. Extension work, I can tell you, is not easy. A lot of initial time will happen, but it's worth it when you see producers driven and trying to get engaged in different programs and projects that we have. So that's the main objective for us.
Yeah, great message.
It's time for our famous three. Customers are always looking for greater efficiency. High-Phos from DSM Firmenich is the result of our commitment to develop a phytase enzyme which could deliver ever greater benefits. High-Phos increases the amount of plant phosphorus available to the animal, and less inorganic phosphorus needs to be added to the diet, resulting in substantial savings on feed costs. High-Phos improves average daily gain and feed efficiency. It also reduces both environmental impact and feed costs, meaning High-Phos has a big impact on the sustainability of animal production. Learn more at dsm.com/High-Phos, HIPHOS.
Well, Javier, before I let you go, we have three final questions for you.
Okay.
So our first question is, what is your favorite swine-related resource? Other than Alberta Pork.
Other the one that I put together, actually.
No, you can say that if you want.
It depends, because I have different ones for what I need. Like obviously the Paris Swine Center for Research is one, because there's plenty of information and I can go back and forth for that kind of an information, that the specific extension information that I want. That's one that I really enjoy and appreciate. And the others, all is many people written, so I like the opinion of a lot of different people about the subject matter. And I read, even if I don't agree, I like to hear what they are working on or what they are doing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, depending on what I want, I have my different little sources that I read and after probably engage with discussions on.
Okay. Our next question, maybe it'll be a little bit easier, is a favorite book or resource outside of swine. So this could be anything, free range.
So many of them. Like, actually, I wasn't a fan of Game of Thrones, and now I read the books and I watched the series, and I really enjoyed that. I never thought that it was going to be that enjoyment in my life, looking at a show and a book, because obviously you're comparing the books with that. It happens to me when I was a teenager that I enjoyed very much reading the Lord of the Rings books and all that series. And when the movies come, like, you have your own characters in your head. So you're like, okay, yeah. But those are probably examples of how I enjoyed. The other one that I really like and I enjoyed very much was The Perfume. That was a big, huge book for me. It was absolutely fantastic.
No, you're more ambitious than I am, because I look at Game of Thrones books and I'm thinking that's way too much to get into. So I don't know if I'll ever do that, but I'll take your word for it. Okay. Our last question is, if you look at particular successful swine producers or successful leaders that you've dealt with, what is a characteristic that they all seem to share?
I believe one of the biggest characteristics for them, for the one that I know and I admire, is that they listen. And when I mean if they listen, they really sit down with you and start to break down what you are thinking of, even if they don't agree with you. Like, sometimes you have your own idea for whatever and subject matter, but when you are breaking down that part and they sit down with you, they listen to what you are trying to say, and they came up with that, or an agreement, or no, I believe what we don't put it in this way or this other way. Yeah. And they teach me how to listen to people and how to react to their ideas and how we can work all together. That's actually one that I've been learning from a lot of successful people.
Yeah, that one gets mentioned a lot. I think it's something that is slowly people are losing. Everybody knows they have their opinion, but there's the other side of it, right? That obviously is just as important. So, okay, well, Javier, it's been great having you on the show. A lot of good information. So thanks once again for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's my pleasure.